story is titled, Am I the a-hole for pressing charges against my mom? I'm not sure if the title is the right way to word it, but hear me out. I, 21 female, found out 5 days ago that my mom, 50 female, lied to me about my tax refund last year and had the money direct deposited into her bank account. She and I are not on talking terms as she borrowed $200 from me in early January and refused to pay me back, even though this is the only time I've ever asked for it back. Since we are not talking, I had to attempt to file my taxes on my own now. She's always done my family's, 28 female, 30 female, and I taxes. So when it was rejected because I couldn't remember my AGI for 2020, I had to request a transcript to figure it out. Although, I ended up finding out I had received quite a large refund in the account it was deposited in. Immediately, I called her to ask her what the hell? Why did you do this? She declined. I texted her several times, no response. I called my oldest sister, 30 female, to try and get in contact with her that I need to talk to her ASAP. Mom then blocks her and blocks me across social media. That all happened last Friday. So coming to this last Monday, I called the IRS, panicking and trying to figure out what I should do. Can I even do anything? Lady on the phone guides me to fill out some forms and contact the Federal Trade Commission with identity theft, although I don't know if that's what it is. I fill out all sorts of stuff and to file a police report. I called my oldest sister again. She says it's not going to go anywhere, waste of my time, etc., and I'm just going to ruin my relationship with mom. My other sister is fully supportive and encourages me to do what I feel like I need to do. Coming to yesterday, I went to the police station and gave them copies of all my paperwork, proof money went into her account, her info, etc. The detective called me and let me know they have everything they need and are going to arrest her, and suddenly I feel bad. Should I just let it go? My refund was nearly $2,000, and I could have really used it as I had just been laid off due to COVID-19 at the time. My oldest sister's kind of at my throat, and I don't know what to do. I've given her over $5,000 over the last 3 years, and feel like she just used me even more than she already was. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, my mom did get my stimulus checks as they were both mailed to me. Also, I understand that I should have checked her doing my taxes. I was 19 at the time and didn't expect my mom to do me like that. I simply believed her. I'm glad you guys were also smart and knew better at that age. I made a mistake. I get it. There is a chance she stole more. I didn't realize my federal returns and state returns were separate, and I only know the Fed amount. We'll be figuring out the state amount on Monday. If you ask, and no, I don't live with her. I haven't since I was 16. Also, I've done a credit freeze and everything on my credit report is things I've done or accounts I have open. Thanks so much though. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. What the hell? She stole your money. You tried to talk to her and figure it out, but she refused. It is then on her to deal with the consequences. Good that you reported her, and shame on your sister for enabling your mom's behavior. Jumping on the top comment to add, don't back down and continue with the charges. She needs to learn her lesson. $2,000 is quite a bit of money to just be out of, especially right now. Yes, $2,000 stolen secretly from you by someone who then blocks your calls is a serious matter. But it also may not be the end of it. You don't know if she's stolen your identity and taken out loans in your name. You don't know what she may be doing and she won't talk to you. You are not ruining this relationship. If allowing someone to steal from you with no consequences is what it takes to maintain a relationship, it's not a relationship worth maintaining. Press charges, OP, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole? You aren't ruining the relationship by filing the report. She ruined it by stealing your identity and $2,000 from you. Try $7,000. Not the a-hole. You want to contact the Social Security Administration about getting a new Social Security number. Your mom has proven she can't be trusted and may use your financial information for her own gain. You need to make sure she can't do that in the future. I have my social card and my birth certificate, and I put a freeze on my credit and stuff. She hasn't taken anything out in my name yet, but I will call them about it. Thank you so much. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my father the true reason I never had friends growing up? First, let me apologize in advance for any grammar mistakes I might make. English isn't my native language. I come from a family of Japanese immigrants. My grandparents came to my country when my father was still a teen. Here is where he met my mother, got married, and where I was born. As a child, I was never a kid to have many friends, or any for that matter. Most people always thought that it was just a personality trait, but that's far from the truth. My father was a rough and stern man, and there's no way around it. Ever since I was young, his family and himself always tried to push certain things onto me. How I should behave, how I should be, how much effort I should put in my things and all that. Once I enrolled in school, things got progressively worse. He always pushed me to be the top of my classes, even when grades didn't really matter. I remember once, when I was roughly 8, I had a test. The subject was my native language, and I did score well. It was roughly 75%. I was having a hard time with it and struggling. That was the first time I was grounded for not being up to his standards. This was just the first of many to come. For him, anything less than a 95%, we don't use letter grades here, was not a good result, and I was punished/disciplined accordingly. I won't get into what happened, as this isn't the place for that. Regardless, as cliche as this might sound, yes, I see the irony of it all. I became extremely introverted and would spend all my time studying. Not because I liked it, but because I was afraid of what could happen should I not do well. This was my daily life from infancy until I went to college. There, I had a lot more freedom and could for the first time be myself. Thankfully, I met some amazing people that I'm friends with until today, and also the woman who I'm now engaged to. Regardless of that, I always resented my family because of that. Since then, I got into therapy and I've been working my feelings out, but it is a slow process. However, a few days ago, my family invited me and my fiancé for a dinner at their house. I really didn't have an excuse to avoid it, thus we went. Things were alright for the most of it, until they started to talk about the past, and my father said something like, "Oh well, B was never a very friendly child. He used to stay locked up in his room all day long." At that moment, I felt so bad about myself that I couldn't keep quiet anymore, and I ended up telling him the reason. That he was the reason I suffered so much. Apparently, that came as shock to him. He said that he only tried to make sure I was gonna have a good future. I ended up going home after an argument. But now, my family has taken to call me an ungrateful a-hole. My father hasn't said anything more than that. It's mainly everyone else. I can't help but feel bad about it. I could have probably kept that to myself. Anyway, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. And for what it's worth, I really didn't have an excuse to avoid it, thus we went. You don't need an excuse to decline invitations. Simply not wanting to go is sufficient. Glad to hear you're in therapy. Keep it up. It sounds like you're finally on a good path. You don't need an excuse to decline invitations. Simply not wanting to go is sufficient. Pfft, try telling that to my mother. Not the a-hole. You simply told the truth when your family was teasing you in front of your fiancé. It's basically another form of bullying from your father. You did what you needed to do. Stand up for yourself and stop his behavior. It doesn't matter what your father's intentions were in the past. He treated you poorly and bullied you, and he's still doing it. There's no excuse for that. He certainly doesn't have a good excuse now. Also, you don't need an excuse to decline going to dinner. A simple, "sorry, can't," or "that doesn't work for me," or "no," is all you need. Not the a-hole. Especially if this is something you had to work through in therapy. Your family should know how their actions affected you. It sounds like they are the ungrateful ones. The next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my dad last that I'm not moving back to my hometown?" I, 20 female, moved away for college 2 years ago. This is going to be my final year. My dad expected me to move back to my hometown once I was finished because that's what his family does. They stay local, close to family, and that's it. But I knew I would be different. He and I don't have the best relationship, and I'm not at all close to his wife. So to me, a fresh start will be a really positive thing, and it has been. I told my grandparents and my aunt and uncle a while ago. My grandparents kind of knew. They brought it up that I was so much happier since I left, and I am. I am in a much better place. About a week ago, my dad asked me about moving back and told me my siblings missed me. They were on a video call, as was his wife, and that's when I broke it to him, because he was saying they had a planned trip in the summer and I could watch the kids for him. He was shocked, annoyed, and he hung up once he realized I was serious. Then he talked to my uncle and then my grandparents, and when he realized they knew, and my maternal family knew, he was super pissed. He felt like he should have been the first person I told and that we needed to discuss it. I told him there was nothing to discuss. That as an adult, I made a decision about where I live. He accused me of leaving my whole family behind, to which I replied I was near family, my mom's family. Things are still dicey, and I'm okay with that. They have never been so good that this would be really hard for me. But my aunt thinks I should have told him first, and before he brought it up. My dad said the same thing, so now I'm wondering if I did handle this badly. I think it was easier to tell everyone else first because I have more contact with them. I really don't talk to my dad all that much. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You're an adult coming home from college, not a middle schooler coming home from summer camp. Do what you want. Seems like he just wanted free babysitting. He wants to believe we have no issues. He always wanted to believe that. So he has ignored all the problems and then gets annoyed when they become impossible to ignore, or when he's reminded I'm not from his marriage to his wife. At the end of the day, you are your own person. The worst part of growing up is seeing your parents as people and all the problems that people have. Seems like you have family in other places. I wish you luck, friend. Not the a-hole. It sounds like he wanted a free babysitter, not a kid. My thoughts exactly. Move back. The kids miss you. Wife and I will even go on a trip by ourselves this summer, so your kids get to catch up. Not the a-hole. Honestly, I relate to this post a lot. I'm from a small town where none of my family members have ever lived more than an hour away from. After graduating high school, I moved across the country for university, and I have no intentions of ever living there again. I also experienced a similar sentiment from my family of, "Oh, can't we just discuss you staying here?" But I've never been happier than I am here, and clearly you feel the same way. Don't let others make you question making decisions that bring you happiness. Your dad has his own life to live. He doesn't need yours too. As for telling him sooner, I'd understand why he'd be upset if you two were close, but clearly you're not. He can't be affronted because you didn't tell him when it seems like he'd put little effort into improving your relationship before then. He can't pick and choose when you two are close. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter the truth about why I wasn't in her life? To start, my ex and I were 19 when she got pregnant. We had recently broken up and she found out a couple weeks later that she was pregnant. She said she planned to get a termination, but only wanted her sister there. So I was always under the belief that she had terminated. She only contacted me once saying it was done, and we didn't speak again. Fast forward 19 years later, I found out a month ago that was a lie. My ex passed away 3 years ago and my daughter Kara has been living with her uncle. He was the one to reach out to give me a heads up after she expressed an interest in wanting us to connect. He and I spoke at length because I was feeling some pretty strong emotions like rage for never being told about her. My ex had backed out of the procedure but didn't want me involved because we were broken up, so decided just not to tell me. But he told me that Kara doesn't know about that. Apparently, I wasn't ready for fatherhood because we were both young, so I bailed. I couldn't believe it. Rob, her uncle, told me he knows his sister was wrong for that, but promised Kara doesn't have negative feelings towards me, and my ex never painted me as some villain, just a young guy who knew he couldn't properly care for her. He asked me not to tell Kara this when we talk if she asks, and because it could hurt the way she saw her mom. I never actually confirmed I would. Kara messaged me, and we've been talking. I've met her twice, and it's been crazy emotional. Looking at this girl who looks just like me, and hurting that we're just barely getting to know each other. So far, our conversations have only been about what her life was like, how my life is, what her wants/future goals are, and getting to know each other. We met again Tuesday, and she finally decided to ask the obvious questions about what made me not to be involved. How did I feel? What went through my mind? Did I ever think about her, etc.? I had been thinking about what to do, but in that moment, I just didn't have it in me to lie, so I was honest. That I was told about the termination and had no idea she even existed until now, but that I still really want to be in her life and have the chance to be her father if she wants that. Kara was a bit emotional. We talked some more, and said she still wants me involved. That night, my messages were blowing up, not just from Rob, but her grandparents as well. They're all outraged for telling Kara about her mom because she yelled at all of them and is refusing to even take their calls. Yes, the lie was terrible, but I just ruined the image she had of her late mother for my own benefit. Rob called me a selfish prick for not taking into consideration how this would affect Kara finding out about this. So right now, I feel crap. I get honesty is the best policy, but in this case, I don't know if I was an a-hole for doing it. I'm still learning this whole dad business, so I don't know if I dropped the ball here. Not an a-hole. Your ex lied. Your ex created this mess. I'm sorry she has passed, but she did this. You have no obligation to continue a lie you had no part of. Your daughter deserved the truth. Exactly. Opie, you were the victim of someone else's long-term lie. Your daughter's uncle tried to coerce you to continue a lie that would only serve to hurt you, in favor of your daughter's mother. That is not fair to you. My advice is to keep your head down, avoid responding or stirring up more drama, and this too shall pass. Then you can continue building your own relationship with your daughter on your terms. Not a a-hole. You said fast forward 19 years later? So your daughter is 19 now. She's an adult and deserves to know the truth. You should not be expected to make yourself out to be a deadbeat dad just to avoid tainting the memory of her mother. Not an a-hole. Exactly. If she was 9, it wouldn't be appropriate, but an 18-year-old adult needs to know the truth. Not an a-hole. The people who lied to her for her entire life are to blame for her being upset at the lies. You are not obligated to take the heat for the lies of others. I do hope you are planning on staying in her life now. It would be terrible to drop that info and disappear. But if you stick around, she deserves to know the truth so that your newly found connection isn't built on a lie from the start. I intend to be in her life. It makes me very sad that I already missed out on so much, and I want the opportunity to build something with her. It would be awful to just leave when there's finally a chance to be her father. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.